happens to you. Don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down, can't none bring.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our USAID webinar. Here we are, Con Valores team. We have here Melquiades and I. We were the co-founders of Incubadora Con Valores. We started to work in 2019. We created the first incubator for people at risk of exclusion. We work with entrepreneurs that they are out of the job market, but they need an income, and they create a livelihood from their skills and their knowledge. And we started in Spain. In the country, we are based in Valencia, in the city of Valencia. And right now we are having entrepreneurs in 22 more countries in South America. And next year, 2024, we will translate all our platform and all our system in English and in French to be able to reach more people at risk of exclusion that they want to create a livelihood. And how we do it? We connect the social world and the private one, the business sector, by our 1,000 mentors, those people that they share their time and their knowledge totally free for the improvement of the life of other people. And they mentor and train our entrepreneurs to create their own livelihood. And here also you can see our colleagues, Andy and Miguel. They are the people behind, the team behind Fans Week. They have been working so hard the last 3 weeks to have everything ready for these sessions, and I wanted to thank them. And now we will start our USAID webinar, in which I will, in a second, you will see our expert. He's Chris O'Donnell. He's coming from Development Essentials, and he will be here today for 1 hour to explain to us how any organization that is joining this afternoon, this morning in some other places in the world can be able to apply and get some USAID grants and awards. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Andrea.
Nice
Good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Feel welcome. And I would like to introduce to the audience who you are and what your expertise. I have to say that Chris O'Donnell has over 33 years of service with the US government. Chris is the founder of Development Essential, a company registered in the USA that was created in 2012. He has advised non-governmental and for-profit organizations on all aspects of winning USAID awards, grants and contracts, and effectively management awards. Development Essentials introduce critical binding and compliance practices and tools via an interactive course format addressing USAID mission and Washington, D.C. requirements. The company also offers webinars and essential professional tools, U.S. Embassy local compensation plans, value-added tax, reimbursement processors, and country bilateral agreements. In 1997, Chris joined the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Bureau for Humanitarian Response Office of Transition Initiative, a newly formed office responding to the needs of priority countries emerging from a political transition. Over 8 years, Chris drafted technical documents for contract and grant awards as an evaluation committee chairperson, led to technical evaluation, while supporting the Office of Acquisition and Assistance with cost and price analysis and negotiation. Following award, Chris assisted with program startup, management, and closeout for programs based in the Philippines, Indonesia, East Timor, Peru, Kosovo, and Iraq. And also in 2005, Chris joined the Foreign Service as a contracting officer in the East Africa Regional Mission in Nairobi, Kenya, where he contributed to support all the 5 mission teams they were in there. Throughout his career, he continues to advance his knowledge with advanced acquisition and assistant courses and advocacy. And also he was developing different grants and partner awards from different African nations. And Chris, feel totally welcome here. We really appreciate that you are here. You were also this morning, and now you are doing the second session. Thank you so much. And for our side, that you can start whenever you feel ready.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Andrea, for the introduction, and thanks to Andy and Andrea for inviting me to talk about working with USAID. And thanks for the kind introduction. So we have 1 hour, and I'll talk for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have 20 minutes for questions. And please use the chat box to type in all your questions. Andrea or Andy will interrupt me if it's a need to quickly clarify something, but they'll hold all the questions to the very end and then batch them. We were able to get through all the questions during this morning's session, so don't be concerned about not getting your question answered. And of course, they'll be anonymous, so you don't have to worry about being quoted on a question. And please ask whatever is on your mind. The first thing I wanted to start into is what Andrea and Andy told me to talk about was the priorities of USAID. They have been changing over the past couple of years, especially with the impacts of COVID, pandemics, the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and we now know what's happening in the Middle East. So priorities for USAID country-wise, growing presence in the Pacific Islands. We're returning to Eastern Europe and the countries that are impacted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Of course, we're concerned about migration from Latin America, Haiti, humanitarian crisis. So a lot of sector priorities and a lot of new countries we're returning to. I think the number is about 150, up from 117 maybe just 2 years ago. So, and USAID is receiving considerably more funds. So why don't we jump to the next slide. So we're going to talk about why work with USAID, funding strategies and priorities, and getting to know USAID. We'll look at the pathways to winning. The first way is subcontract or subgrant with the prime contractor or grantee to learn the business before starting to prime. We'll look at the art of winning, and we'll look at the second pathway where you compete for full and open opportunities. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the gaps that I've seen in cost and technical proposals. So let's jump right in to the first page. So you're probably asking, why USAID? Well, it's the largest bilateral donor. It obligated in FY22 $36.4 billion. 29.5 were in Washington and 6.9 were in mission obligations. This is very important. We see a big shift of obligations moving to Washington, D.C. But still, there's a lot of opportunity working with missions. We see the majority of the money going for grants and cooperative agreements. It looks like around 80%, and then 20% for contracts. So remember that. Washington obligations, highest. Grants, highest over contracts. This is a great report on the first link at the top. It's AID's progress report. Maybe, Andy, you want to open that. It's a very operational report about what USAID's accomplished. I read it cover to cover. I print it out and I have it on my desk. It's really a great read to look at what USAID's accomplished in grants and contracts and where the money went. So Andy's going through several slides here very quickly. But again, all the links of documents that I've given you, mandatory reading. These are the essential documents at USAID. So for FY23, it will come out in March. This coming March will come out the report. So why don't we close out of that, Andy? Okay. So one of my favorite reports is the progress report. Okay, next slide. Okay, funding strategies and priorities. This is how the funding process works at USAID. AID submits its request to the White House with State Department. That's called the Congressional Budget Justification. Okay? That's submitted every year in February for the next year. So in February 2024, they will submit 2025's budget request. Once it goes to Congress, the House and the Senate will review it, mark it up, and vote on their own bills, reconcile, send it to the president. This year's budget for FY24, starting on 1 October, hasn't been approved yet. So we're behind. And then comes the law. This was FY23's. So these are two good budgets, documents to review for long-term planning about what the priorities are for US government in foreign affairs. And I've noted Division K, Title II USAID, and Title VII is where you'll find them. Generally, there are 10 bills and 10 laws, but in 23, there was just one bill and one law. Okay, and then we also see a Ukraine supplement that the White House has submitted the request to Congress for additional money for Ukraine, for Middle East, across the US government, and USAID will receive substantial funds when that supplement is approved here, hopefully soon. Okay, and then as we move forward, priorities. Each country has a strategy. Andy, would you please open the last document? And scroll down a little bit, and you can see the country strategies, all the links listed there. It tells you what the priorities of the USAID mission is. Well, in some case, it may have expired, but it's better than no document at all. So you can click on those and read the country strategy. Okay. We'll close out of that. Okay. So as you can see, we're starting very macro, and we're narrowing down what are USAID's funding's priorities. So one big funding priority that affects you all is called USAID localization. The administrator in December or November 2021 at Georgetown spoke about localization. USAID will direct 25% of its funding directly to local organizations defined on this slide. It can be a contractor or grantee, legally organized under the laws of and its principal place of business or operation in the countries classified developing, and providing assistance in the same country. So it'd be like a Kenyan organization registered in Kenya wanting to work in Kenya. That would count towards the 25%. It started in FY22, counting the percentage. Next slide, Andy. Okay, so how is USAID done? In FY22, 1.6 billion or 10.2% of the obligation baseline went to local organizations like you all listening here. It worked with 1,706 local organizations in FY22, and the increase in FY22 was 233 new organizations USAID worked with in FY 2022 that are considered local. And this is a very good report about which missions are doing very well funding local organizations and where there's a need for improvement in the report. If you can click on that, Andy. Okay, so report, right side. Thank you. Scroll down to the chart. More to the tables of countries. More. Okay, so here you can see how they're doing, direct funding to local organizations, and where, who is doing well working with local organizations and which ones could improve. Okay, important information to guide where you'd like to work as a local organization. So we can close out of this. Okay, all right, close out. Okay, so back one slide. Okay, so the progress in FY23, based upon historically, will probably be out in June 2024. The first one came out in June 2023. So you'll see another report come out. Okay, next slide. Okay, so USAID has launched a new website called workingwithusaid.gov, only 2 years old. It was a .com. A few months ago, it became a .gov. It's a one-stop shop for a lot of very important information to help you work with USAID. So would you click on Working with USAID, Andy? Okay, so let's, there's lots of things I'd like you to do on this website. Upper right-hand corner, list your organization. Okay. You can also search the list for other grantees and contractors working in that country that they have reported. We can look at find funding, and there are 3 places. You can look at sub-opportunities of prime contractors and grantees. You can look at sam.gov for contract opportunities, grants.gov for grants opportunities, and the USAID business forecast. Okay, what's really good about this, required by law, it tells you what the forecast is maybe a year and 18 months out. Once a quarter, USAID will take questions on the forecast and have a webinar on the business forecast. And questions are due tomorrow. Click on USAID business forecast. Okay, so scroll down. Okay, see the forecast, you can search by many different ways. You can even type in country somewhere. Let's see, operating unit, left side there. So you can type in any country. Just type in Angola maybe, or okay, push return. Bottom left-hand corner. Okay, search. Scroll down. And you can see one opportunity for Angola for working there. Let's close out. Okay, let's go back to working with USAID, and let's say events. Very good. So the quarterly business forecast, you can click on that under news. And tomorrow, questions are due on the forecast. And on December 7th, there'll be a webinar, which you need to register for. And you'll listen to USAID about the priorities over the last quarter. And then following that, they'll answer all of your questions that you have submitted regarding a solicitation. And I recommend that you look at previous questions to get an idea of what people are asking for. This is really a great tool to determine what USAID priorities are. And it's high scored, best in the US government. Still, it needs work, but it is the best in the US government regarding a business forecast. Okay. Let's see what else. Learn, prepare. Okay, I'm going to mention, we're going to go over the partnership checklist and pre-engagement checklist in the next couple of slides. Okay, let's close out. Very good. So your first homework assignment is review the business forecast, submit your questions by tomorrow, and sign up for the December 7th webinar by USAID. If you miss it, it will be recorded, audio, and the transcript, and loaded up on the website for the forecast. Okay, next slide. Okay, let's talk about the partnership checklist. Is the step one to working with USAID. Are you eligible to work for USAID? And basically, you look at the solicitation, it will say unrestricted eligibility or restricted. But generally, every solicitation will determine whether you're eligible or not. And they'll be on the forecast also. So you'll know a year in advance whether you're eligible to bid for that solicitation. Okay. So this is important. Read the forecast, read the solicitation regarding eligibility. How do I prepare my organization to work with USAID? There's some very good training modules that you can, when you have time, to go through, and to continue to add more. And then also, the prospective officer or applicant's guide to the pre-award survey. Okay? There's the pre-award survey is conducted by USAID right before they give you the award, okay, which is step 3. But this guide will help you prepare for the pre-award survey listed right here. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay. How to connect with the USAID ecosystem or network. Let me point out this. What's happened with the COVID is that we all went on Zoom, and then in Washington, USAID has a lot of preference for networking via Zoom. And actually that can be good if you don't have a presence in Washington, D.C., but as we know, the best networking is done face-to-face. So you have to navigate, networking when you're not present and you're using Zoom. Okay. So some ways you want to subscribe to the USAID newsletters. Click on that, Andy. Okay, and type in my email, and you'll see and submit. And these are all my newsletters that I've signed up for. There are a lot of them, but when you're just learning about USAID, click on all of them and then delete the ones you don't want later on. So I can change my subscription, or you can look what I've asked for. Okay, this is very good. I like this. The list of newsletters. Some are more frequent than others. So a lot of newsletters. Okay, and you'll figure out which ones are important to you or not. Let's close out. Okay, so you can join Working with USAID LinkedIn group. You can follow Twitter, Working with USAID. And one thing, you can also go to usaspending.gov and find all the active awards in the countries you would like to work. Okay? Okay, Andy. So let's do a search there, Andy. Select search awards. So fiscal year, you can put 24, 23. Scroll down, award type, contracts, grant IDBs, and grants, agency. Okay, place of performance, location, place of performance, left side, and then place of performance. Okay, sorry, there we go. Okay, and then add to filters and search. Okay, and Andy and I just went through it. It was a bit slow, but it looks like it's working okay. So you can click end date, and it shows you all the active prime awardees, and you can study each one of those about contacting them to work with them. You can also click on sub awards, upper right hand corner, all the sub awards, what local organizations have worked with the primes to network with. You can also download all these documents, primes, okay? And then you can turn it into an Excel spreadsheet, and it can be your watch list. Okay. So Andy and I just went through it one time. She's already mastered it in one time. Okay. All right. Very good. So it tells you about all the active awards, primes, and subs in the country you're working. Next slide. Talking about connecting with the partner ecosystem. In business development, it's network, everyone, everywhere, all the time. You should have a 3-minute pitch that if you meet someone from USAID that you can give them. And a very polite way is, can I have 3 minutes of your time? Everyone will give you 3 minutes, okay? So you always should be prepared to ask for 3 minutes and give the 3-minute summary on your organization. It's past experience, performance, methodology, and staff, which is the evaluation criteria of a solicitation. Also develop a fact sheet, 1 page on your organization. Give copies to all your employees. Keep them in the car. Every time you meet USAID, you should be talking about advocating for your organization and being known. You need to be known to get an award. So you need to market yourself all the time. Get yourself on the embassy list for the ambassadors' receptions, 4th of July, International Women's Day, because these are business opportunities to advocate for your organization and network. Very important if you can get face-to-face, okay? But you need to network to find out about those opportunities. So perhaps the 4th of July is coming up. You see someone at USAID saying, I haven't got my invitation yet. And how do I get one? Well, call this FSN and you'll get an invitation. Okay? So network, network, network. Next slide. So where do you find business funding opportunities? First, the advanced is the forecast, 12 to 18 months, which we just covered. Okay, start there. You can go to sub opportunities. Andy, you want to click on that? Brand new portal on workingwithusaid.gov, where the primes can load their sub opportunities. It's slowly building its use, but very important website to explore. So there's about 24 on there now, it looks like. It's growing slowly. And some are in Spanish, I think, too. I think. Okay, very good. Let's close out. Okay, we can go to sam.gov, where all the contracts are listed. X out, and you can you can search federal organization, USAID. Left side, US. Okay. Okay, and so you can see the latest contract solicitations. And generally, when you click on it, the first page is the synopsis or summary. And that's looks like a person there. Okay, the first page is the summary or synopsis, and then you can click further down on the actual solicitations at the bottom. Okay, you can see it right there. This is they're looking for an employee. Okay, just play around with this. You'll need to register for this site. You can search, but it's important to register, close out. You can set up an alert to get a daily email about USAID contract opportunities. There's also grants.gov. Further down, you can register also and set up a daily notice from grants.gov. Remember, under a contract, you only get 45 days for a bid. Grants, 30, and we'll talk about what you can do to plan further in advance than that. Next page. How does USAID make funding decisions? Generally, they're competitive, and here's what they look like. Methodology is 40 points for approach. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know the USAID language? Can you write it? Okay, so it's very important. They will know whether you know what you're talking about by looking at your methodology or your approach. Okay, they'll also look at past experience, performance, and staff. Remember, you're new. You may not have past experience or performance, so go get it. Find partners that have it, work with them so that you can have these points, even though you may not have any experience yet. Remember, there's always an incumbent. So it's about providing something better to USAID than the incumbent. So that's why you should always go to US spending and find out who the incumbents are. Obsess about the incumbent. That's your goal, to provide something more than the incumbent. And also, you can subgrant or contract with those that are active in country, which we talked about a bit earlier. Or you can do the full and open competition. Next slide. Okay, the first thing you have to do, being a non-US organization, and get an NCAGE number, okay, in the middle of the page. Quite laborious process to do that, but be determined, be patient, and be accurate regarding your data, because they're searching millions of databases to authenticate you. Very important, okay? And make sure when you take the NCAGE number and you go to sam.gov to register, your data is the same for NCAGE and for sam.gov, okay? And that what you put into sam.gov is what you are publicly known as, because it will flag if they authenticate you and there's some errors. It can require several hours to do both, but you only have to do it once. It's free, and you'll renew on sam.gov annually. It's free. Remember that. People want to charge you to do this all the time. Okay? So NCAGE is once. If you're an American organization, you'll get a CAGE number when you register in sam.gov. But because you're non-US, you have to get an NCAGE number first. Okay? Next slide. This is the only registration you have to do. NCAGE and SAM, and that's it as far as registrations You may have requirements in your home country to register, but USAID does not require that. Okay, so step 2, there's a partner self-assessment, and you can determine whether you're ready to get an award. 46 questions, and these are the areas it's covered. The checklist is on working with USAID.gov. Okay. Back slide. Back one slide. So this is the link for it, self-assessment. And then it takes about 10 minutes to go through the 48 questions, and it will give you a report. I like this. Okay. Okay. And then finally, AID will conduct a pre-award survey. Go to your office and check you out in these particular areas also. Next slide. So there's 3 steps: 1, 2, and 3. Types of solicitations. Some are associated with contracts, sam.gov, and some are associated with grants.gov. And don't worry about what it's called. Analyze it the same way. Okay? I want to note a couple of things. Annual program statements. It's a solicitation that's open all year. It can be rolling submissions, and it's first in, first funded until money runs out. Annual program statements. Some are with concept papers, some are with full applications. AID has been doing a lot of concept paper submission to make it easier for you all to bid. Requests for information. The government's looking for inputs in their design, and participate in that. You may shape it that may benefit you. And also sources sought. They're looking for who can do the work, and they may ask for a capabilities statement. So many types of award solicitations, but again, I like concept paper, rolling submission, first in, first funded are my favorites. Okay. Next slide. Here are the regulations that govern grants. Are the first 2 CFR 200, the government's grant regulation for all organizations, all departments, and 2 CFR 200 USAID supplement. And then ADS Chapter 303 is USAID's grant and cooperative agreement guidance. They're all very easy read. Read them once, print them, read them, highlight them, save them, and now you'll know where to look if you have a question. And of course, contracts, you'll start what's in the document and clauses, and then AID's guidance, Chapter 302. So these are basics of rules and regulations for grants and contracts, which you can read a bit later. Next slide. So when you're going to approach a prime for a sub-grant opportunity, the first thing is that it's important to research who are the incumbents, who are the active awards in country, and you can do that by usspending.gov. So be familiar with the incumbents, their awards, and when they expire also. You can also do a lot of research on the incumbent and the country and sector by going to the Development Experience Clearinghouse website. It's USAID's document archive in the middle of the page. Believe me, you can spend a lot of time in this library, but you can ask them, you can contact them if you know what you're looking for, and they'll do it for you. Development Experience Clearinghouse. Where do you start? Pick a country where you have an established relationship. Start from there, because perspective of the country is so important. Start from there. You'll generally sign a non-disclosure agreement to share information with the prime. And then if you're going to bid on a specific proposal, a specific teaming agreement. Okay, when you sub, it's not about the money. It's about learning the business. And the sweet spot is 18 months. Learn the business for 18 months, and then you can start priming on your own. But the key is to have developed your human resource guide, your financial guide, your sub-granting and subcontracting manuals at the bottom. Maybe the prime will give you a copy if you're nice to them. Next slide. Also, if you enter into a teaming agreement for award-specific opportunity, these are the things you may want to consider in negotiating a teaming agreement. Okay? This will be solicitation specific. Okay, next slide. Okay, the art of bidding. First things first, it's all about methodology, 40 points. If you know what the methodology is or approach that's appropriate for the country. At the Development Experience Clearinghouse website, you can research all the approaches that were ever done, so you know exactly what is possible. When you write, it's important to know the USAID language. Write it and speak it. This tells USAID you know what you're talking about. Then comes right people and right partners, which is 20 points. But remember, it's about methodology or approach. Next slide. Okay, if you're going to do a full and open bid, you got to start early, 12 plus months. Okay, like I said, contracts, they only give you 45 days to do a bid and 30 for a grant. Not enough time. You must do as much as you can as early as possible. So at plus 12 months, you can start looking at building your watch list of awards that are going to be recompeted. Use the business forecast, usaspending.gov, and research the incumbents on the archives, Development Experience Clearinghouse. There are a lot of really great documents you can find there. Methodologies, surveys, monitoring plans, baselines, and country contacts, which you want to start building a list of who you're going to talk to in country. Next slide. Because about 6 to 4 months, you'll make your trip to the field. The sweet spot is 30 days, 100 meetings. Okay? And USAID will know you're there. Okay? So identify what staff you're going to look for and start collecting resumes. Identify who you want to work with, subcontractors and subgrantees. And you know who they are. They're on usaspending.gov. You can research the cost elements. You can do your appointments with USAID and government. And you can talk with the mission, particularly the incumbent program manager. You can test your assumption of methodologies, and you can assess how the incumbent is doing. Are they liked? Next one. Next slide. So you've come back from the field, probably totally exhausted. Back up one slide. Very good. A lot you can do now after you come back from the field. You can draft your first methodology. You can draft relevant past performance, past experience. You can format your resumes. You can start your first cost application. You have a lot of information and you can start it 4 to 3 months out. And you can also find the incumbent's solicitation on sam.gov or grants.gov in the archives. So start from what you know to what you don't know. But a great place to start is the incumbent's solicitation about what to expect. Next slide. Okay, the solicitation is posted. Hopefully you've been working on this for 12 months. There's no secrets. You know it's coming. You can analyze the solicitation. You can confirm you still want to bid. You can send questions to USAID, and they hardly ever come back in time. They always come back kind of late, so don't count on questions to USAID as essential. Hopefully, if you've done a lot of research, desktop and in the field, it won't matter so much because you already know what the answer should be. You can do a lot of revisions of what you've been doing for the past 12 months. The format, page limits, your time submission, division of work between primes and subs. You can revise organizational charts and your compliance checklist. This means compliance checklist means you've just made sure you've got everything included. And the key is you just want USAID to talk to you, send you questions. You want them to take an interest in you. That's really the key of your proposal. Okay, so next question is, here are some technical and cost applications. I've seen gaps to winning. You can read through those on your own. We are at 12:48. So next slide. Next slide. Okay, so Follow Development Essentials coming soon in 2024. We have several courses that we will expand upon what we've talked the last 45 minutes. You can sign up for updates on my website. You can follow me on LinkedIn. And if you have more questions, you can send me an email at chris@developmentessentials.us. And I think we'll close there and jump into questions in the last 15 minutes or so. Okay, Andrea, questions?
Yeah, here I am. Do not worry that we have some of the organization joining, that they have some different questions for you. Okay, I hope they will make it easy for you. And the first one, it was like you were showing on the presentation, like one of the links that Andy was showing to us, there was a list of countries, and there was some people here so concerned because they couldn't see their country. And especially we have one organization, they are working in 7 countries, but they wanted to have knowledge if Argentina is on the USAID focus.
Okay, very good question. So the congressional budget justification tells you what's submitted by the White House, whether we have a foreign development mission in Argentina. And I will tell you, we do not. Okay, so go where the money is. AID is not in Argentina. Okay, but the key, sometimes the country may not have a country strategy. Okay, but you can also, once you know USAID more, you'll know there's no presence, there's no program there in Argentina, but the congressional budget justification is a good place to verify that if you don't know, and the law when it's signed. Okay.
Okay.
Next
Thank you so much. And it comes also, you know, like there's so many organizations like asking about their own countries. There is one organization, it says like they know that USAID is also returning to some Eastern European countries. If you could elaborate more about Bulgaria and Romania, and what are the priority funds for the coming year?
Okay, very good. All right. So basically, what I've been told is where more funding will be going to the countries that are impacted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. USAID may not have staff in those countries yet. It will take time, but one of the best ways to do it is go to USAIDspending.gov and search that country to see if USAID has funded programs there. And network. There was a gentleman who asked me this morning about Bulgaria and whether money was coming back to Bulgaria. And then he said, oh, I know some Peace Corps people there. They'll know, which was a great idea. They probably know. So network, especially if you can't find anything on the internet regarding those countries yet. USAID spending, also check there. because it may not be a mission and it may not be so publicly known. But if you're impacted by the war, then there'll probably be some assistance coming.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Chris. We have here like all the organizations asking. You say so much about the networking, about how important it is like other organizations to know us, and some questions are about like how we do for USAID to know about us, how we can start in contact with them or start to say like, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this. What can I do as an organization?
Okay. All right. I'll just tell you, cold calling. I haven't been so successful getting meetings with organizations and USAID cold calling. I have to call people I know. But one thing you can do is you can Google desk officer. So Google USAID desk officer, let's just say Albania. Okay. And then send an email introducing your organization. And we'd like to get some time with you to talk about our organization, what your priorities are, and how we can best reach out to the mission. Okay, so you're going to follow up and follow up and follow up with the desk officer. And the key is, can you introduce us, our organization, to the mission? It's great if you're a local organization in Albania because they want to fund more local, but you can use the desk officer to do introductions for you for the mission. It works very well, but does take time, is one way. If not, just networking every place USAID goes in country, whatever grocery store they go to. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. And speaking like, because you say, for example, Albania and other countries, that what happened with those, for example, in Spain, does USAID has a desk office or do they have one in Brussels? Or how does it work in Europe for us to reach them?
Okay, there's not one in Spain. So there should be desk people for a lot of the Eastern European countries now. So you could go Albania, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Czech Republic, Ukraine, a lot of those countries. You could Google desk officer. As far as Europe, we're not in Europe. It's Eastern Europe is where we are. Eastern Europe countries.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We have one question from one of our partners. They are from Botswana, and they say that in their country, USAID funding is quite limited. And what happened is like when there is a funding opportunity, there are those big organizations that they join in consortiums and left behind those that are small ones. What's the strategy a small organization could make to get those funds?
Okay, I agree. By the mere size of awards that are posted, it does exclude emerging organizations like those that are listening. And I have talked with USAID about making smaller awards to give new organizations an opportunity, that they're just too big. So what you can do, for example, in Botswana is start the networking. Go to usaidspending.gov and make a list of all the active organizations in Botswana and make yourself known to those organizations, especially if they match up with the sectors you want to work in. You can sub to them now, or maybe in the future when they're going to bid. Remember, it's not, you don't meet them one time and say, we want a team agreement with you. It's 7 meetings before you sign a teaming agreement. 7 meetings. Okay? So start the networking with those that are active in Botswana. And the solicitations come out of South Africa for Botswana. Okay? So you have to pay attention to South Africa solicitations. but start the networking now. It's something you do all the time, okay, to make yourself known to those primes that are there.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. We are sure that the organization that have asked this question will follow your advices. And last question, because we have 2 minutes left and we don't want to take so much of your time. It's what would be the 3 first step that one organization that wants to apply for USAID has to make, and how we will do it without, being collapsed by all the bureaucracy. Like, what do you recommend us?
Okay, first step, get the NCAGE number and then register at sam.gov is the first step. And I would, the newsletters that Andy showed, I would click on all those to start getting the news pushed to you every single day to start understanding USAID. And then fourth, I would just start networking with those organizations in your country of choice. Okay, remember, I go to meetings on subjects that I'm not interested in only because I know who's going to be there and I want to talk to them. And then I ask my question and then I leave.
I think that's a great advice. Thank you so much, because at the end it's like, yeah, connections make the difference. No, when you know someone and you have something in common, like you can find synergies, and also people can know what you are doing in your own local context. Thank you so much, Chris. And also this that you say, it goes really smoothly to the next activity we have, is the networking session, in which all of the participants of this webinar with you, they will be in a Zoom room in which they could speak to each other. And as Chris say, like, you can connect and expand your network, and maybe you find potential partners for the future. And last but not least, Chris, I would like to thank you so much, you and your company, for bringing this expertise to us, and it was really a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Okay, and thank you to you and Andy for extending the invitation to talk about USAID.
Okay, you are welcome whenever you want. And here on the chat side, that you have it down in the screen on the bottom part, like you have the chat icon, and in there I will leave you the Zoom link for our next networking session. Will be the last one for today, and in there we can discuss for some strategies to apply together for USAID funds. My colleague Andy, she will stay in here for a couple more minutes if anyone needs assistance for like going to the networking session, and I will be waiting for you there. Okay, thank you so much, and see you in a couple minutes in our Zoom session. Bye.
Okay, all right, bye. Thank you. I'll join you in the chat. I'll join you in the next networking then.
Yes, you can, Chris. You can copy the. You can